Atiku, that is PDP, will defeat Buhari at the tribunal based on facts. Believe us when we say this. Atiku is coming. This is NjenjeMedia channel. Subscribe to the channel. Let's have a conversation this afternoon. We believe that Atiku, that is the PDP, will defeat Buhari, the APC, at the tribunal based on the facts that we have looked at. Believe us when we say this. Question is, why did Wole Olanipokun, that is the APC lead, President Muhammad Buhari's lead counsel, why did he close his case prematurely? There is no other reason than, that he basically has seen that his key witnesses, the witnesses that he produced, were rather not helping him, but they were throwing spanners in his works. So he felt so ashamed. Someone who said they had about 400 witnesses, suddenly, when 4 witnesses appeared, and when Professor Dr. Levi Uzuku took them to shred, tore them apart, suddenly everyone started running. And they called and said that they no longer will be present in any witness, that they want to close their case. Now, I had discussed this with a couple of legal minds. Now, the takeaway from here is, if we had a serious nation, if the judiciary in some cases to be that they had to go by the legal books, if you have entered and said you're going to have 400 witnesses and after 3 you're pulling out, that means because you've already been allocated about 2 weeks to present your witnesses for cross-examinations, they would have forced you to present the rest of the witnesses. If you remember, in the case of PDP, I think they said they had about 600 witnesses, but eventually the PDP didn't pull out because they the reason why PDP didn't present all the 600 witnesses is because they ran out of time. So the court doesn't state 24 hours. They, because of cross-examinations, at some point they no longer have the allotted time, so they had to do away with other witnesses. But reverse the case. In the case of APC, they had the time. They had about 2 weeks to present their witnesses, and they only presented 4 questions asked. They kind of think these witnesses that we are bringing is not helping us. Now, Nigerians must ask questions. These things aren't right. Remember, Atiku's team of lawyers is led by Levi Uzuku. They have succeeded in establishing some important facts for all Nigerians to note. The facts are incontroversial. They are incontrovertible and have nailed Buhari and the APC. The facts are that, number one, that they have been able to establish that Buhari lied under oath, that all his credentials are with the military. That's what he keeps saying. But no, far from that. His colleague was brought, from the Nigerian army, and he was asked, and note this, that a witness during cross-examination said it is not true that the military had their certificates. In this case, by that statement, what it does is it reinforces the submission of Atiku's petition that Buhari had no certificate. So if you're in doubt of this, you can do a Google search, Buhari's witness. Then you can see, I've forgotten I think he's a general. He said that, and the papers published it. He, the certificates that they came in to the military with are not with the military. I mean, these are for observation and citations. Then you take your certificate home. So why would everyone who had entered the military, why would Buhari be the only person that his certificate is not with them? Is with them. Secondly, that even Abba Kayari, the de facto president, Abba Kayari came there, and what did he come with? He came with a photo saying, yeah, this is the president, this is who he has, who he graduated with, and this is his set. Now, and Livie Zuku, in his, in his legendary manner, asked him a question after he tendered the photo, the picture that he came with. Then, and under cross-examination, Dr. Livie Zuku asked him this question. He said, is there any difference between a picture and a certificate? What do you think Abakari said? He said, yes, my lord, there is. Now, Livia Ezeku went further to say, okay, the question was asked again, can a picture stand in place of a certificate? He said no. Again, if a picture that you brought cannot stand in place of a certificate, that means simply, making you're making useless of your whole submission, because a picture cannot stand in place of a certificate. So the third point is that Buhari also submitted a document bearing another person's name.
A comparison of the two documents presented by the president, that is a Cambridge Assessment International Education Certifying Statement of West African School Certificate, and the CTC of the Confidential Results Sheet of University of Cambridge West Africa School Certificate of 1961 for Provincial Secondary School Katsina, also revealed more discrepancies. While one read 8 subjects sat for, the other listed only 6 subjects. Also on cross-examination, the WIAC registrar was asked to read out the name on the document, and the name read Muhammad, not Muhammadu.
If you remember, go check it out. President Muhammadu Buhari, his name is spelled with double M and a U at the end. That's Muhammadu Buhari. Now, this is a serious case. Many people will remember that if your name does not tally with the name as it is in your passport or as it is in your legal document, then you're not that person. And there is nothing, in law that one can say that is rather than, other than impersonation. Okay, so that is what everyone is basically thinking at this stage, that Buhari's name is Muhammadu with a DU, and the name on the certificate is Muhammad with a single M and no U. Just like the way the Prophet in Islam is spelled, Muhammad Buhari. And Buhari has never answered Muhammad Buhari. So there are more that meets the eye, and there are more that, eventually when the tribunal gives its verdict, I think it's going to be a landmark a case that's going to shape and change the way cases happen in Nigeria. Now, Buhari's witness, that's the fourth point here. The Buhari's witness also confirmed during cross-examination that Buhari did not submit, list, or attach any certificate at when he submitted his form CF001. That is equally, basically, the implication of that is that President Muhammadu Buhari has not fulfilled all the constitutional requirement for the elections into the office of the president as stipulated by INEC. So far, Buhari's witnesses have done more harm than good to his defense. Again, let's get back to the Cambridge certificate. The Cambridge assessment report has also done more harm than good. I mean, it is very obvious, and it is so glaring, because when the WIAC boss was cross-examined, he was asked, did you issue this certificate? And he said no. So it's like yes and no answers. So if you don't issue a certificate, so why are you defending a certificate you didn't issue?
Strange about that. I've never heard that any institution will allow a third party to collect certificate on behalf of another person. It's not done. It's not done.
Now, one would think Buhari was in London for over 3 months, and Buhari has been coming and going now. One would have thought that when, as these issues came up in 2015, 2016, that he should have, in all these last 4 years plus, applied for his certificate from the Cambridge University, and he should have used that certificate, maybe an authentication or whatever it is that the Cambridge would give him when they have looked into their archive and confirmed that he had the certificate. That would have, doused this tension. Then by going back in 2019, or rather 2018, when he was submitting the form, he would have discarded all the manipulations done in 2015 and submitted fresh documentation. And actually, the whole thing doesn't make sense now. And we can state clearly here that we at NjenjeMedia submit that Atiku's team of lawyers have successfully established that Buhari lied in order to support his claims. The main point here is not that the judiciary or the Nigerian judiciary is on trial, but that this case is a case between Buhari and Atiku. In fact, the certificate issue in our mind is more than the INEC server issue. At the end of the day, it was discovered that no certificate was attached to Buhari's INEC form, even no qualification, in the CV tendered in
While
court.
under cross-examination, he also states that no certificate is mentioned or attached in either the president's CV or forms submitted to INEC, which is an exhibit before the court.
But yet, this is defended, so vehemently by, basically being defended with passion, tooth and nail, by the elite, by journalists. These are people who ought to know. Sometimes I would agree with some of my colleagues who make videos and want to, roast the elites alive, because the elites are somehow supporting some of these things happening. Because if everyone had frowned at these things happening that we know they are fraud, these things would have probably changed by now. Okay, so as you all know, over 44,000 exhibits showed various electoral frauds that took place in the 2019 presidential election. In the same presidential election, ask yourself, in Lagos, in Okota, in Agor and Munshin, various areas in Lagos, people saw, it was recorded on cameras, people were prevented from voting. Yet, not a single unit was cancelled for people to recast their vote, even when the ballot papers were destroyed, burnt in the presence of security men. This is unbelievable. There is nothing, rather than that one can say that this is a joke. Again, various electoral frauds, more than 15,000 polling units is being confirmed with video materials and other evidences. This is really not a joke. Something is going to happen. Remember, again, in the tribunal, about 48 video discs which showed how the Nigerian military compromised electoral processes, and how INEC chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu jettisoned and just discarded his own guidelines that he has issued. He discarded them with reckless abandon. This is no joke. Again, the inability of Independent Electoral Commission, INEC, to call a single witness to defend the most expensive election since the birth of Nigeria is indeed, worrying. Why wouldn't the 2019 charade make you angry? This is nothing. This is just, in the eyes of the world, we are nothing. We are people who are not serious. Thank God for the American government and for the UK government that have decided on their own, because they have, people who are involved in this. So they've started banning these people from going abroad. I would call them, we would actually call on them to extend this ban to their families and their relatives, so that it gets to them where it hurts. If you're in doubt, you can also read the National Tribune report, where it says Tribunal accepts Atiku's video as exhibit, in court. Again, the inability of Muhammad Buhari to present a single sample, a single school living certificate that is genuinely issued by any Nigerian institution is a real joke. And this brings me to the final point here. Now, question is, why? Ask yourself, Buhari has gone to London for military training, has gone to America for military training. It is like, if you have had master's or PhD and you're applying for the job of a presidency, why would you go back and use your WAEC or your first living certificate? Why wouldn't you use your PhD, your master's, or your bachelor's? Normally, common sense would dictate that the most recent acquired certificate is what you normally present, not the most, not the oldest and the most absurd. So what point is it trying to make? So it appears from the onset something is really fishy. These are all signs that Atiku will win at the tribunal and at the Supreme Court. We dare say it is likely that Atiku will win because his evidences are unprecedented. Stay tuned to this channel. We will be analyzing this as they come. I think the tribunal has gone on break because of the APC pulling out in presenting their witnesses. I think they are resuming on the 19th of August. So in NjenjeMedia channel, we will be analyzing the details of what happened in the tribunal. So don't bother yourself. We will break it down in a layman's language and understanding how you are going to comprehend to make sense of what is happening. Stay tuned. Once more, this is NjenjeMedia channel. Remain blessed.